everyone, it's Keira and welcome back to the F-Series channel. Today I am joined with Steph and Beth and we are going to be talking all about the brand new series of Chasing the Dream. Now, if you don't know what Chasing the Dream is, I will get onto that in a minute, but before I get to the video, please do not forget to like the video and subscribe to our channel. So, Chasing the Dream. It is a documentary basically following Formula 2. You could say it's similar to Drive to Survive on Netflix for Formula 1, but I personally think it's a little bit better. But season 2 of Chasing the Dream came out this week. The first one came out pretty much this time last year and it was following the 2019 season. However, this year it followed the 2020 season. And we just thought, we binged it all the other night and we just thought, let's do a video reacting to it because we loved it. But anyway, if you don't know what it is, they're literally like 25-minute videos or so. There's about 6 of them, so it's not too many. So if you want to go watch it, it is on F1 TV. But my first question to you girls about the series is, did you enjoy it? Quite simply, was it what you thought it was going to be? Did you enjoy it? Would you watch it again?
I will 100% be binging it again.
This is the first time that I watched it, so I didn't watch season 1. So I was like, let me see what this is about, because you girls raved about it. You were like, it's so good, we love it, and I was like, you know what, everything about F2 is better than F1. So maybe this is as well. And it was different to Drive to Survive, but yeah, I enjoyed it as well.
Good. I enjoyed it as well. It was a little bit different. I think it probably was because of COVID. There was a little bit kind of different situations. I think we saw more race footage than we did last year because obviously last year we could go to people's homes, we could follow them a little bit more. However, the first episode we did follow somebody and that was Marcus Armstrong. We saw a little bit more into his life. We saw a little bit more into his life in Maranello and where he lives. He lives with, well, he did live with Callum Ilott in Italy. And I liked that episode because I think it was the episode which was most like the first season in a way that we followed his journey in Austria. If you don't know, the first kind of 6, all 6 of them, they've kind of followed the races, and obviously Austria was an amazing place for Marcus Armstrong, so it's great to follow him at the start of the season. What did you think of knowing a little bit more about Marcus Armstrong?
I want to tell all the fans watching, because we followed Marcus, that was the only reason Keira loved this episode. It wasn't because there was no racing. I'm exposing you right here. No, I love that episode. I think it was really good. We saw a ton of his personality and his relationship with Callum, which was really, really lovely. And I don't know, it's really strange watching the beginning of the season because it seems like it's so far away. But yeah, they clearly set up Marcus to be a main character. He had main character energy in that episode. And clearly the producers thought he was going to have main character energy throughout the entire season. And he just didn't.
Oh, poor Marcus. But no, I agree. I really, really enjoyed that episode because that was the most like Drive to Survive for me, because if you guys don't know, I became a Formula 1 fan because of Drive to Survive, blah, 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 blah. But the thing I liked about Drive to Survive is I got to know the characters behind the actual driving. I never came to Formula 1 originally for the racing, but now I've stayed for the racing. So this episode I was like, really enjoy this. I felt like I got to know more about Marcus, more about his journey as well. I didn't really know his journey to the feeder series, his friendship with Callum as well, and just the fact that Marcus is genuinely one of the funniest people on the grid. His humour sends me every time. It's so deadpan, so dry. I love it. But yeah, this is one of my
I think it's the accent as well. The accent makes it even funnier.
He is very criminally underrated with his humour. But yeah, as I said, the whole season kind of followed the series followed the season. That's what I'm trying to say. The series followed the season, and I personally, my memory isn't great. So when I was watching the race kind of recaps in the series, I was thinking, hang on a minute, I can't even remember this happened. And at the end of every race, it told you the driver's standing. Now, was there anybody in there that you, not that you forgot about, but you kind of was like, oh, you've done a really good job this year, and I just didn't realise?
Yes, it's Christian Lundgaard. He had a mad season. Like, I remember after one of the races, it showed the standings, and he was P2 in the standings, and I was like, when did this happen? And he had multiple wins. He had some absolutely stand-out driving, and he just sort of tailed off a bit at the end of the year. I know he had quite a lot of bad luck where he was involved in incidents and stuff, but watching that back, I was like, oh my God, Christian Lundgaard had an absolutely banging season. It was so criminally underrated. And you remember as well that he was a rookie like Yuki and like Robert as well. So definitely him. And I really enjoyed seeing Felipe Drogovic's highlights as well. He was very much more of a yo-yo type of person. He was either doing the most or he was doing the least.
That was quite the same with Nobu, his teammate, though, wasn't it? I feel like it was a thing with MP. It was just kind of like you were up there or you were like right at the bottom.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. The person that probably shocked me the most, sorry to bring him up, but Nikita Mazepin, I honestly, at the beginning of the season, I didn't think, looking back on it now, he was nowhere for me, like at the beginning, and then it kind of got towards the end and they were showing him on the standings and I didn't think that he was in the top 10 until towards the end of the season, but he was actually, you know, right up there. And when it came to like the end and he was like, did he finish P4?
Either 4 or 5, one of the two.
I thought it was
5.
6. I don't know, I can't remember. Somewhere there.
I don't know. Towards the end, he just kind of came out of nowhere for me. And then watching the whole series, it actually seemed like he was kind of there or thereabouts for a lot of it in the top 10, which I didn't think that he was. And so that was really surprising. And unfortunately, the series does follow him quite closely as well. Like, we do get a lot of Mazepin moments, so if you don't like him,
Don't watch it.
I wouldn't watch it because there is quite a lot of Mazepin content. But yeah, that was just a massive surprise to me because I didn't realise he was, you know, as a roundabouts as he actually was.
I think with Mazepin as well, one thing I did kind of like is, I don't know whether they did it intentionally, but at the start it was very much like, oh, like he's a promising driver, blah, blah, blah. And then when they showed like the first incident with him and Yuki, where he got the first penalty, that's where I felt like there was a little bit of a switch in how the series viewed him. Yeah, and I don't know whether they did that on purpose or it was just because of how the storyline works. But if they did do that as a little subtle thing, then fair enough. But I did definitely feel like it's little change in energy there. And the other thing I wanted to say was how I completely forgot Mick was nowhere at the start of the season. Like literally nowhere.
Like 9th or something.
Yeah, and then he just won just from halfway through, he just absolutely dominated the championship, and you forget how unlucky he was in those first rounds. So that really highlighted to me, if Mick actually wasn't as unlucky as he did, how much better would he have done in the championship? He probably would have ran away with it a lot sooner.
And that's like vice versa for Robert Schwartzman, because when we go into episode 3, we saw Hungary, and Robert actually came up from 11th to 1st, and Nikita Mazepin, talk about him as well, he came from 16th to 2nd. So they had really strong races there. In episode 3, we saw Callum go back to UNI Virtuosi. If you don't know UNI, they're actually in Norfolk, so it was quite nice to see Callum very near to my home. So it was nice to see that side of things as well, because we didn't see much like into the garage and things like that, did we? So it's quite nice to actually, I've never seen inside UNI. I've drove past, but I've never seen it. So to actually see inside and see like what's going on in there, I would have loved to see a little bit more of that.
Kira's there with her binoculars as she goes past.
Literally. Keira is camping outside.
Where's Callum? Where's Joe? Oh no, imagine. And yeah, what else we saw? We saw Dan's win as well at Silverstone. So there's a lot going on in episode 3, a lot to do with racing. But episode 4 was when we went to Spa, and you know, we know the tragic events that happened in 2019, and the first season of Chasing the Dream was really difficult because there was an episode on Antoine when he was alive. It was following him. It was lovely to see, but at the same time it was so sad. But episode 4, as much as it was very sad, it had a positive spin on it, didn't it? We saw JM's recovery. We saw everybody's tributes like Pierre Gasly, Yuki Tsunoda, and I quite liked the episode. It was quite uplifting. What do you guys think about it?
Within 30 seconds I was crying.
Yeah,
oh my god, it
was
literally just hit me straight away, and I was like,
yeah,
Jesus. And I know you girls said to me like, this is the one that you're going to cry out. So I was like, let me not watch this in the morning before work, because otherwise I'm going to be a mess. But I really liked how they did it, because they could have just done the episode with the rest of the grid and how they were coping with the year after and racing. But the fact that they got GM to be there.
JM!
Oh my god, I do it every time! You saw me think about it then as well.
GM! I don't know no GM!
Anyway, JM, he was there, and they didn't have to do that. They didn't have to follow him coming to Spa and getting that closure, which must have been so important in his recovery. because he wasn't on the grid last year, as we all know, and I think we're all so excited to see him perform next year in Formula 3, even if he doesn't get the results that he might hope for. The fact that he's going to be back in a car less than 2 years after an accident that almost took his life as well is completely incredible. But no, I really enjoyed how they did this episode.
Yeah, and just on that topic, I think we all forget as well that his life was completely turned upside down by what happened as well. And there's a massive focus, as there should be, on Antoine. But I think sometimes we do forget as well that JM suffered tremendously as well. And when Callum was talking about him, I think that bit really hit me in the feels, because Callum looks so emotional. And I don't know, I just thought it was really, really nice that they did that to commemorate JM as well, because as he was speaking about, he had been through such a dark time since the accident. So I just think it was so great as well. And I know, sorry to bring up mental health. No, I'm not sorry. To bring up mental health, I think it was really great to show that these drivers aren't, super strong, stoic men. They don't just have no emotions, and we saw all of them dealing with their emotions and showing them. And I think that was really, really nice as well, because sometimes we can forget that drivers themselves are human and they have emotions. So I think the way that they did this episode was just really beautiful, and it just made me so I don't even know.
Be quiet.
The best bit was Yuki asking for stickers for Antoine, and you know what, I had to replay it because I was like, no, he definitely didn't just say that, but Yuki said Antoine is my sporting hero.
Yes. Yes, oh my god, I think he said that when he picked up his award as well. It was just amazing. Yeah. And I think another thing that was good with that episode was they didn't just talk to any drivers. Like, they spoke to people that were close to Antoine. Like, they spoke to Jake Hughes, they spoke to Callum Ilott, obviously they spoke to JM, they spoke to Yuki, they spoke to kind of all the people that are most associated with him. They could have picked up anybody to be like, yeah, I raced with Antoine or whatever, but they actually, and Nikita as well, who was his teammate in GP3, so they picked all the people that knew him the best, and I think that's what made it closer to your heart in a way, didn't it? So overall, really good episode. I love the way they've done it. It was really respectful, and it was just amazing to see JM and his recovery.
Also, I love his mom. That's it.
Oh,
his mom,
yes.
she's so.
She's an incredible
I love her.
woman.
She's wholesome.
She's such a queen.
I love her.
Yeah.
That's it.
Episode 5, I think, was one of our favourites. I think we could all say it was one of our favourites. We had a good chat between Alex Brundle and Alex Jakes, and they were in the commentary booth. Well, I was actually really interested to see this because I knew that they weren't travelling to the races this year, so it's actually, or last year. It was actually really great to see where they were commentating from. I knew it was somewhere in London, but I didn't know where. So weird to think he's commentated on all the races and he just wasn't there. Like, he just didn't get to go with everybody else. But most importantly from the episode, we focused on drivers and their dads, because there are so many Formula 2 drivers that have famous dads. They've got Christine Lundgaard, we've got Louis Delatraz, Mick Schumacher, I'm forgetting loads of other people as well. Who else? Alesi. There's so many people that have famous dads. And one of the questions in the episode, which I want to ask you girls, is if, having a driver dad, is that a positive or a negative, do you think? How would you like it if you were a racer and you had a mother or a father that was a racer? How would you take that?
I don't think I'd take it very well, personally.
Josie, get in the car. Steph's mum.
Nah, she could never. No, but I personally, I think that there's just too much expectation. And I've always said this as well. It's a massive thing that I've always focused on with Mick, is that there's just this massive expectation of how you're expected to do. And so I don't know how these drivers are coping with it. Like, I know that they've grown up with it for a long, long time, but for me, it's a no-no. I don't think I couldn't hack it. I couldn't hack the pressure.
I completely agree with Steph. I would crumble every time someone would be like, but you're not your dad though, or are you going to live up to your dad? I'll be like, the answer is no, absolutely not. But I think one thing that I really liked with the episode, but also Formula 2 in general, and I can't speak on Formula 3 because I never watched Mick in Formula 3, but maybe Keira, you can enlighten us like always, was that Formula 2 have never focused on Mick being Michael's son. Every single time they've spoken about Mick or they've looked at Mick's performances, they've always looked at Mick and they've always looked at his career and his strengths and his weaknesses, and they have never once compared him to his dad. Whereas I think in Formula One, we will probably see a lot more comparison of Mick and Michael. And they did this in the episode. It wasn't just about Mick, because we all know Mick and the rest of the Schumacher family are very private about their family life, and rightly so. So it was really good to actually be able to see more of the other drivers on the grids who have dads who are involved in Formula One or within the feeder series at all. Louis Delatraz having a famous racing dad. I didn't bloody know that. I didn't know that about Christian Lundgaard either.
Oh
and
God.
I really...
Kira, we
Sorry.
know you're the feeder series queen, but like we weren't enlightened on this stuff.
Yeah.
So when I saw Mr. Henrik, I don't know how you would pronounce it.
I thought it was just Hendrik. Maybe I'm just so
Hendrik?
British.
Okay, I don't know. But whatever. I did not know this was a thing. I did not know this existed. And also, what I really loved was the fact that they brought in the F1 drivers who had famous dads as well, because it's called Chasing the Dream. So it's not specifically, you know, like this is a Formula 2 documentary. And so the fact that they brought in Carlos Sainz and Kevin Magnussen, I never get to see his personality ever. And it was so great to hear him talking about it as well. So just to bring that up there, I love the fact that it was kind of a bit of a multi-series crossover dad-son situation thing.
But they never brought F1 in it just for the sake of bringing F1 in it. It always had a purpose of actually being there, which was great.
Absolutely, I really love that. But yeah, that kind of rounds off the general going more into depth about the episodes. One final question for you girls is, what was your favourite episode, and what was a moment that maybe we didn't pick up on that you would like to mention, or that you just thought was cool, or you just didn't like, or anything that you want to mention basically? I'll put you on the spot.
Fave episode. My fave was episode 5. I loved it. I just loved the kind of journey that it followed. And I know me and Keira talked about this. And I know that she didn't like that aspect of racing throughout the whole thing. But sorry, this isn't really answering the question. I guess I guess the moment that I liked was just the fact that it was chronological, because it's one thing that I hated about Drive to Survive 2 is the fact that it was so jumpy. Like, we were in Germany with Mercedes at one point, and then we were back at the beginning. I hated it. I was like, there's no easy way to follow this season, but I loved the fact that it went chronologically and that we got little snippets of racing as well, because I think if they were just talking about specific moments, I would be like, okay, well, how does this relate to the context of the season? So I think that's something that I really liked, and that's the racing inserts that I really enjoyed personally, because they, you know, kept me, you know, clued in on what was going on.
Yeah, I think I would agree with Steph, is that my favourite episode was episode 5. I just thought it was great, and it was a really good way to show that relationship between like father and son throughout racing, because it's not something that's unusual, it's something that we see all of the time. And also I loved the title of the episode. The title of the episode was like Race DNA, and I was like, oh yeah, like I'm interested.
That'll be one of my new YouTube video titles.
So yeah, I really like that. But to go against what Steph said, the reason why I watched and really enjoyed Drive to Survive is because I got to know more about the characters behind the cars, people who were actually driving the cars, and I, at the start, didn't care for the racing itself. I cared for the actual storylines. So it's never really bothered me with Drive to Survive. Maybe it will bother me this next season, so season 3 of Drive to Survive, because I did watch Formula 1 the year prior to season 2 coming out, but this year I've been even more immersed in it. So maybe I'll have to give you all an update on whether the lack of chronological order in season 3 of Drive to Survive upsets me, but I can take it or leave it, really.
It upset me, I can tell you. It did upset me when I kept jumping, can't lie. But yeah, I think I completely get the reasons why they done this kind of more race footage, but a lot of the time I felt like I was watching race highlights. But I get that they couldn't go into people's houses. Like the first season, they were going to people's houses. They were literally following them along. And I love that. So I'd like to hope that when they film this year, depending on, you know, global situation, that they can do that again, because I did feel like I was just watching the season. But obviously it's great. If you haven't watched Formula 2 and you would like a quick way to watch Formula 2, I would definitely recommend watching this, because you get a gist of pretty much everything that happened, and you can get that going. But my favourite episode was episode 1, but not just because it was Marcus, okay, hear me out, because they followed him, they followed someone. because they followed someone. Like, even if they followed Sato, I would have been like excited about it because I like the seeing like the driver's
You're
side.
lying, Keira.
I'm not
you're
lying.
Just say it with your chest. You liked it because it was Marcus.
I did also like it because it was Marcus. Right, I've had enough of this. I'm getting bullied. I'm wrapping this up.
A classic F-series video.
we end in a mess every time. Yeah, again, if you do want, I feel like it's an ad, but if you do want to watch Chasing the Dream, it is on F1 TV. It's amazing. So if you've got a couple of quid spare and you haven't got it, buy it for a month, watch it all. Let us know what you thought of it, or if you have watched it, let us know in the comments what was your favourite episode. But yeah, that is it for today's video. Again, if you did enjoy the video, please be sure to give it a big thumbs up and do not forget to subscribe to our channel down below. We'll be back again for another video very, very soon. Goodbye.